The priests and the instructress brought the mistress of the world into another room, and there they severely reprehended her, giving full credit at that time to all the accusations of her companions, and, having exhorted her to reform and behave as one living in the house of God, they threatened to expel her from the temple if she would not mend her conduct. This threat was the most severe punishment which they could have given her, even if she had been guilty. So much the more severe was it that she was altogether innocent of any of the faults imputed to her. Whoever will obtain from the Lord some understanding of a part only of the profound humility of the most holy Mary will also understand somewhat of the effects of these mysteries in her most innocent heart. For she judged herself to be the most vile of the women born, the most unworthy to live among them and to burden the earth with her presence. This threat cruelly lacerated the heart of the most prudent virgin, and in tears she answered and said to the priests, "My masters, I acknowledge the favor which you do me in correcting and teaching me, the most imperfect and despicable of creatures. But I beseech you, pardon me, you who are the servants of the Most High, and overlooking my defects, direct me in all things so that I may reform and from now on give pleasure to His Majesty and to my sisters and companions. With the grace of the Lord, I will resolve this anew and will commence from today." Our Queen added other words full of sweetest innocence and modesty, and therewith the instructress and the priests dismissed her, enjoining anew upon her that doctrine of which she herself was the most wise teacher. Immediately she betook herself to her companions, and prostrating herself at their feet, she asked them pardon, as if the faults with which they had charged her could ever have been shared by the mother of all innocence. They received her this time with more goodwill, because they thought that her tears were the effect of the punishment and the warning of the priests and the instructress, whom they had induced to act thus in pursuance of their badly governed passions. The dragon, who was secretly contriving this entanglement, urged the incautious hearts of all these girls to still greater haughtiness and presumption, and as they had now made headway in the estimation of the priests themselves, they proceeded to greater audacity in discrediting and lowering the good name of the most pure Virgin. Accordingly, by instigation of the devil, they fabricated new accusations and lies, but the Most High never permitted them to say anything very grave and dishonorable of her, whom He had chosen as the most holy mother of His only begotten. He merely allowed the indignation and deceit of the maidens to go so far as to exaggerate very much some small faults, which were even in themselves altogether fictitious, but which they accused her of. Moreover, they were permitted to practice many feminine intrigues to which their own restlessness drove them. In these different ways, and in the reprehensions of her instructress and of the priests, our most humble Lady Mary found many occasions of exercising virtues, of increasing the gifts of the Most High, and of exalting her merit. In all this, our Queen acted with the plenitude of perfection in the eyes of the Lord, who regaled Himself with the sweetest odor of that humble spikenard, maltreated and despised by the creatures who did not know her. She repeated and continued her clamors and her sighs on account of the absence of her beloved, and on one of these occasions she said, "My highest good and Lord of infinite mercies, if Thou, who art my Lord and my Maker, hast forsaken me, it is not strange that all the creatures abhor me and rise up against me. All this my ingratitude to Thy benefits well merits. Nevertheless, I will always acknowledge and confess Thee as my refuge and my treasure. Thou alone art my God, my beloved, and my rest. If then thou art this to me, how can my afflicted heart come to rest? The creatures do only that with me which they should, but they do not go so far in this as I merit. Because thou, O my Lord and Father, in punishing art so sparing, and in rewarding art so generous. Discount, O Lord, my negligences by my sorrow of having lost thy interior presence, and pay back with a liberal hand the benefits, blessings, which thy creatures gain for me in forcing me to acknowledge thy goodness and my meanness. Raise, O Lord, the needy one from the dust of the earth, and renew her who is poor and the most abject of the creatures, and then may I see thy divine face and be saved. It would not be possible, nor is it necessary, to relate all that happened to our Queen in this test of her virtues. But leaving her at present therein, and considering her behavior, we will have in her a living example, teaching us to bear with exultation all the troubles, pains, and strifes which are so necessary in order to satisfy for our sins and subject our necks to the yoke of mortification. There was no sin nor any deceit in our most innocent dove, yet, in humble silence and patience, she suffered ungrounded hate and persecution. Let us then be confounded in her presence, that we should deem slight injuries irreparable offenses which must be avenged, whereas all offenses of whatever kind are to be held but slight by those who have God for their enemy. The Most High was mighty to preserve her from all persecution, but then he could not have shown his power in leading her out of it unharmed, nor would he have given her such dear pledges of his love, nor would she have reaped the sweet fruit of loving her enemies and her persecutors. We make ourselves unworthy of such great blessings in raising an outcry against creatures whenever we are injured and our proud heart rises up against God himself, who arranges all things, for it refuses to subject itself to its Creator and Justifier, who knows what is necessary for our salvation.